What's up, YouTube? Mr. LaMessi here, and today we're going to be talking about some of people's favorite Necromancer builds, the Poison Necro. One of those not often seen, but super fun to use builds. So, the first thing I want to talk about with the Poison Necro is, you're really not going to be using this build until you're level 30. I would recommend using something else until you get there. Can you play Poison Dagger all the way until then? Yes, I actually think I have a Poison Dagger Necro build. Diablo 2 Poison Dagger speedrun. Yep. So I have done a speedrun all the way through normal. It looks like it took about 4.5 hours with the Poison Dagger. But it's still definitely not my most recommended get there piece. So if you're fully committing to it, you can do it. But it's not super great. If you are doing that, just smash that Poison Dagger, just like you're smashing that like button and subscribe and notification button on the YouTube video as well. So you can get a point into Clay Golem. Let's go ahead and talk through. You get your point into Clay Golem. You can get your points into Poison Dagger early. And pretty much it's going to be looking like this, right? Getting points in Corpse Explosion is also very helpful. You get to blow up all of the monsters, and it's always good, right? You kill one monster, and then you Corpse Explode everything else. So a few points here is great, and then in the end game, just having the 1 point there is very strong. I also like to have 1 point in Bone Armor later on, even though it's not going to be a ton. I mean, look, if I put 1 point in and I have a lot of plus to skills, that's like an extra 190, 200 life. Against physical damage, and that's pretty nice. So it's not bad at all for that. But let's talk about, as we progress through the game, how are we going to be putting our points in? Well, we will want to be putting every point we can into Poison Nova when we hit 30. Additionally, we will want to make sure that we have a point in Lower Resist. And something good to note here is that your first few points in Lower Resist are going to be really strong. So if you're playing through the game and you're like level 33, I would make sure that I have 4 points saved up, 5 points, whatever, that I dump into Lower Res. Then when I respec later on, I can just make Lower Res a 1 point wonder or put a couple points into it. The biggest reason I say that is because it has that diminishing returns. So your first point is worth a lot, your second point is worth less, your third point even less, and by the time you start getting up to like 15, 16, 17, you're not getting as much value. So here you can see it's just, 1, 1, right? 61, 62, 63, right? Like, you're investing a lot of points for a couple resistance to knock off right there. And really, I would say this is a great just 1 point wonder to have at the end of the game and let your plus skills do the work. If it is still pretty low because you don't have a lot of plus skills, like I said, maybe put a few more points into this, and then when you eventually get better gear, you can respec it and put some less points right there. So beyond that, we are going to go ahead and be maxing out Poison Nova. Like I said, this will be something you're going to do from level 30 and on. And then, of course, maxing out the synergies of Poison Explosion and Poison Dagger as well. So one of the things that you'll note about this character is that it leaves you a lot of room, right? This is only 60 points right here. And then, of course, the 1, 2, 3, and then the 7 points right here. So that's only 70 skill points, which isn't a lot of skill points if you actually think about it. Because you have the skill points you get from levels, plus you're going to get 4 from every difficulty, right? If you do Radament, Isual, and the Den of Evil. So that's another 12 right there. So literally, by level 58, you should have enough skill points to cover all of this. And so that's not going to be too difficult. So you're going to have a lot of extra skill points as you're going later on. And this is where you get the options of what do I want to do with them, right? And so this is where, if you want to be getting, Bone Armor and then get your points into Bone Prison to start boosting up the damage, you can do that. If you want to be maxing out Corpse Explosion, that's always a great idea as well. That gets you a lot of bonus right there, which is super helpful because it just increases the radius of your Corpse Explosion, which is super nice. If you want to max out Skellies, you can do that. So you go 1 point in Skeleton Mastery, and then you shove 20 points into Raised Skeleton. And this is actually a build that's not bad. You get your 1 point in Clay Golem, 1 point Summon Resist, And now you've turned this into not just a poison necro, but also a summoned skeleton necro that actually has really strong skeletons as well. And so very strong, very easy, great option, I would definitely say. And one of the fun things about this build is that you have these possibilities because it's so few points committed to the main part of the build. So corpse explosion, bone armor, raised skeleton. This is probably my favorite way to do it, is to put the points into the summons over here. And then, you know, even if you have a few more points, maybe you go and work towards like revive, because revive is another great like 1 point wonder if you have a lot of plus to skills, right? So you can go there, and then you just run around, and you can have your lower resist. Let me actually turn that there, right? And so you can see monsters, you lower res them, and then you cast your Poison Nova. And obviously if the monsters are super low, you just cast your Poison Nova automatically like this. But as you get higher, you can start to lower res monsters, and it's just a really fun, easy way to go through and just crush a lot of monsters. Now, one of the big things that you have to kind of worry about, which is why it's really nice to have all of these skellies with you, is that this build does not do super well when it comes to defensive capabilities. So you'll remember that like other builds have the bone prison option, which is super safe for you. So you can just bone prison everything, and that'll make it a lot easier. This build doesn't quite have that as much. So what I like to do instead for all of that is have these skeletons that can run around with me, and that just makes it a little bit safer. So if we do get into a situation while I've got my skellies in front, they can help tank for me, and then I can kill those monsters like that. Pretty simple and easy way to go through it. So that's how I'd recommend the skill build for this character, and you can see already great Poison Nova damage just right there. So let's talk about stats. Enough points for strength for your gear, enough dex for your gear, everything else into vitality. Once again, a character, I don't really like max block on the Necromancer. It's just not my favorite thing. If there was a Necromancer that was going to be max block, I would say it would be this one. But even then, I still would rather just be vitality. So let's go ahead and look at the different gear for the character. We can talk about the expensive options and the poor options, of course. So the expensive weapon is going to be Death's Web. And this is really the weapon that you're going to want if you're trying to take this like super late game and getting really strong. It has the plus to all skills. It has the plus to P and B skills. It has the life and mana after kill, which is very helpful for this. But the biggest thing is it has minus 45 to enemy poison resistance. So on top of the lower res, minus 60 all res or whatever you're throwing on them, another minus 45 to their poison res, you're just going to be absolutely crushing them. They're going to have no resistances whatsoever. They're going to be negative res, and it's just damaging. This is the second hardest item in the game to find, behind Tyrael's Might and Mang Song's in my case. And so do note that like this is a very rare item, but if you're on, BattleNet and you're trying to trade for it and stuff like that, it's not crazy expensive. So you can usually find one, especially if it's a little bit lower roll and you're not crazy rich, you can still get this. So rare item, but very, very good. Other options for this, Hodo. You got plus to skills, FCR, all res, once again, always a classic. And then just kind of all of these wands, once again, a lot of necro wands have plus to skills, have plus to FCR, plus to life, and so really just grabbing any of these things is going to be helpful for you, whichever ones you kind of find. You're really just looking for FCR, some plus to skills. Those are like your main two things on a weapon here. And the big thing I can say is, additionally, you can also go with something as simple as like a white wand, right? This is plus 3 to PMB skills, 20 FCR, and you get some vitality as well. So even that is simple, and that kind of helps solve some of those problems until you get something more expensive like a Hodo, or eventually something really nice like a Death Whip. And so, once again, the FCR breakpoints are going to be 30, 48, 75, and 125 on the Necromancer. So look for those breakpoints to be hitting, because the faster you can cast, your lower res and your Poison Nova, the better you'll be, and your Corpse Explosion. Additionally, if we move on, Shaco, kind of always the classic caster helmet. Always just amazing. A +2 20 FCR helm is good. A +3 to PNB helm with FCR would be really nice, especially if you can get like 2 open sockets on it. A lore helm is fine. A Tarn helm is fine. Get something with skills and FCR as your main 2 priorities. And then beyond that, look for life, res, strength, all of those sorts of things. For an amulet, same sort of idea. Maras, get your plus skills as your main focus. Plus to necro and FCR ammies are nice. And even just look for basic, like +2 to PNB skill magic ammy is a nice thing that you can find along the way. So really I would focus on the plus to skills there, unless you need the 10 FCR here to hit a certain breakpoint, and then you might want to go ahead and pop that on until you get that FCR somewhere else. For a shield, Spirit is totally fine. But I would actually say on the Poison Necro, this is where you can have a little fun. Homunculus is really nice. You can put some a negative, like a poison facet in it. You can go for just some Necro head with plus to skills that you find. Or you can do the Trang Owls. And this is something that is good to show, and I'll show that here soon. But you get plus to PNB, you get strength, you get dex, you get res. It's a nice helm overall. So this is a good one. And you also get the chance for blocking. So if you want to do that max block, that can help a little bit more there. For armor, Enigma is probably the choice. I know a lot of people will say Bramble is the main choice, but I think a lot of people will actually enjoy Enigma more just for the mobility of it. Being able to move very quickly around is very helpful. That being said, Bramble is the armor that also is very crushing in D2. And so I don't actually have a Bramble made. I forgot. But Ral Om Sir Eth, I'm going to open this up. No, open image address. Okay. There we go. So pretend like I made it. So you get the thorns, but blah, blah, blah. But you get 39% to poison skill damage. So very, very strong to go ahead and boost up, right? The poison skill damage boost is extremely useful for this character, because once again, you're using Poison Nova, and that's a pretty big boost to damage. That being said, Enigma is probably your better get right on this. Ranges from 25 to 50. Yeah, so pretty big range. But it's a little bit more attainable, still pretty rich. So what do you do if you can't afford either of those? Well, we go back to what we've talked about before, which is, how about a Q-Hagens? How about a Viper Magi? How about a Spirit Shroud? How about, any of those armors that you're going to get plus to skills on, plus to FCR on, plus to resistances on. Those things are all going to be pretty useful for the character. So really, there's a lot of things you can find. And even starting out early, the stealth armor is a fantastic early grab. Always recommend you to pick that up. Additionally, if we move over to, we did our weapon, to our gloves. This is really going to be your glove. It's hard for anything else. 25% to poison skill damage, 20 to FCR, 2 to curses, cold res. These gloves fit on this character so perfectly. There's not really any other option whatsoever. Can you start with, yeah, Mage Fist and your whatever gloves, and you can get Laying of Hands, the Fire Res, and whatever things, But these gloves fit like a glove. Nice rect. It's really the perfect item for a character, like so much. So this is it, right? This is what you're gonna want to use right here, because that poison skill damage is huge, and on top of that, everything else is also really strong. So work towards these. They're not that expensive. They're not that crazy to find. Go farm Hell Mephisto. Hell and Dario might even drop them. Double check on that one, but really, really solid pickup there. For your rings, BKs, SOJs, and of course FCR rings with strength, resistances, and life on them. All fantastic pickups. And once again, this is where you just go to, what is my break point, right? Where am I? For a belt, Arachnid Mesh is great, but this is actually where you can throw on this Trang. And now you can see you get minus 25% to enemy poison resist from the Trang's helm, or from the shield, when you have the 3-piece set. So I actually like 3-piece Trangs on a poison necro a lot, because you're getting some of the, whatever, the benefits are okay on some of these things. 40 cold res right there isn't bad. You get firewall and fireball, whatever, who cares about that? But minus 25% to enemy poison resist, very huge. Once again, you have this. It's a lot cheaper than going and getting your Death's Web, and ultimately, you want to be rocking the Death Web. But this is still very strong right there. And then for your boots, Water Walks are great. You get the plus to life. Treks are great. War Traps are great. Marrow Walks are great. Really just, there's those sets of boots. I'll even go look at my boot section on my main character. There's just these sets of boots, Sandstorms and Water Walks, and even if you need fire, right, you can get the Inferno Strides, whatever stuff you want. There's your Marrow Walks. There's really a lot of solid boots, and even just some rare boots can be nice on the character. So get some faster run walk, chance for Frost Nova, cold res, fire res. These would probably be really good on that character because he doesn't have as many defensive capabilities. And so having something with Frost Nova on it, right, could be really nice and really helpful for the character. Something like that, right? So just getting, different boots with different things like that, hit recovery, res, all of that stuff is all very nice for your character. For your Grand Charms, getting those P&B Grand Charms is all going to be boosting for your Poison Nova damage, and you can really start to increase your damage there, which will be super nice. And then, yeah, I feel like that really covers a lot for all of that, and just boosting your life up. CTA on swap. Additionally, you can get teleport charges on swap. Just get this from a staff that you can shop Act 2 Nightmare Drognin. Very simple. But, as always, you can just grab... Where'd my CTA go? There it is. You can have your CTA, work towards CTA and Spirit for your swap right there. And that pretty much covers it. The character's, really a lot of fun. This is probably one of my favorite characters to play. Even though I don't play it very often. But when you have this character actually boosted up, he can actually be a really strong and good magic finding character as well. So something like War Travs, and some, I don't know if I'd put MF gloves on because I really like having Trang Owls, but, finding some whatever stuff right there is pretty easy. And it's a really nice character overall. And then, like I say, Corpse Explosion is also very helpful. So a lot of people like to use this character for pit runs. You go in, you use lower res on everything, you Poison Nova, and then you just Corpse Explode and blow everything up really fast. And it can be really strong on Players 8 as well. So a very, very good build, especially as you start to get more of these like higher level pieces on it, the Enigma, the Death Web, all of that stuff. But other than that, Mercenary, I think it's pretty open. You're already casting lower res. You can get Infinity if you want to go really rich, and get Conviction to lower their res even more, in which case the monsters will definitely be maxed out in how much you can lower their resistance. That's absolutely crushing. And so that'd probably be my first recommendation. But beyond that, you can really put a lot of stuff on. If you want to go for the summon build as well, you can maybe get like a Faith Act 1 Merc and kind of be this hybrid poison and summoner. That's kind of cool. Insight would be really nice for this build as well, because it is a lot of mana. Infinity doesn't work with poison damage. That's right. Conviction is only the top 3. Good call, chat. It does work with your corpse explosion, but it does not work with your poison. That is actually a very good call. I forgot that. Conviction only lowers cold, fire, and light res, but not poison. So good note right there. Don't listen to Llama all the time. So with that being said, I hope this was useful to you. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time. Peace, YouTube.